Content is becoming more crucial in the way that we make sales today. Over 90% of purchasers from a business-to-business transaction have said that content has played a significant part in them making their purchase. But believe it or not, content is not a one-size-fits-all solution. So today we're going to talk about how you should be making content for the 3 phases of your customer purchasing journey. I'm EA Green, the owner of the Open Media Agency, a full-service marketing agency focusing on virtual events, micro content, and lead generation. And today, we're going to talk about the 3 phases of content that you should be creating to help your customer or client move down the line and make a purchase. All right, so before we get into everything, today's video is kind of like a 0.5 or a part 2 of our last video that we did about content marketing. So it's not necessary for you to leave. But if you want to get the full context, just click up here and then watch that video and then come right back. So if you watched the last video, we kind of talked about how your client goes through 3 steps in order to make a purchase. But now we're going to talk about why you should make different types of content in order to help them get through those phases. So just to recap, those 3 phases are building awareness, building consideration, and making a decision. So first, we're going to look into about building awareness. So when it comes to building awareness, imagine you and that client and that customer, they have no clue who you are, right? But it's almost like having a blind date. So you want to be able to do certain things to be able to impress them, make a great first impression. So the way that we approach about getting attention is like the same way you would try to get someone's attention on a crowded street. So imagine you're walking across a crowded street and you see somebody that you know. Right? And instead of just stopping there and then trying to yell out to get them to come to you, most times you might walk a little bit over to their line of sight and then get their attention. So imagine that the same way when it comes to introducing your content for a future client or a future customer. You got to have these different types of pieces of content to try to get them to stop from scrolling the whole time. So you want to find something that's attention grabbing, something that is valuable, or something that can try to retrieve some sort of emotion. So you want to get them to laugh, get that quick chuckle, or do you want to give them some information that says, you know what, I never knew that. Something that is going to keep you to stand out from the rest. So now let's get back to that first date. So imagine you're having this first date with this potential future client or customer, right? You're not going to just say, this is what I do, bye, bye, bye. You're going to introduce some small nuggets along with that infotainment or along with that value-driven content to be able to give them more of information to learn more about you as a business owner, or a brand. Imagine you have 10 pieces of content that are going out. So you might do something that may be funny, you might do a quote, you might do something that has nothing related to do with your industry, but it provides some humanizing factors about what your brand is or what your business is. But around the 4th or 5th time, you might sneak something in there that talks about a service that you may provide. Or you might throw in a testimonial that shows some of the things that you may have done in the past. So what I want you to remember is that when you're building awareness, there's no clear-cut formula. You want to test things out. You want to try new copy, which is the way that things are being written on your post or on your actual description. Or you might change different colors, different fonts, different design. So now we're going to get into the consideration stage. Previously, now you created content that would then allow your customer or your client to get to know you, to make that good first impression. Now you need to create content that's going to actually separate you from the competition. What is going to be the portion of your main differentiator? What do you do better than anyone else? Why should they actually choose you? So these are just a few questions that you want to be able to answer while you have your content circulating through social media. Another way to look at it is that you want to be able to build content that's going to build credibility and allow you to build trust. So let's stay with our example that we talked about earlier. You have that first date, you made a great impression. Now you got to get them to call you back. How are you going to keep them interested over a longer period of time? Right? You got to call them. You got to invite them out for the next time. You got to make them laugh. You got to make them think. all these different things. So when it comes to making your content, again, you have the layer of content that helps build consideration because you know that you're not only talking to one particular person. There will always be someone new that will be introduced to your content, and you should always make it feel like they have that same experience. But when it comes to that next layer of consideration, of course, someone who is a little bit higher in that funnel that we talked about previously, right? They're going to see those two different layers of types of content. So now if you went from 1 to 10 for awareness related content, now 11 to 20 is about your consideration type of content. So before we get out of consideration, I don't want to leave you without some real practical advice. So remember, when you have your awareness type of content, you're not trying to get them off the platform yet. But when you get into consideration, again, with that mix, you might have one or two that might actually make an ask so that you can get to know them just a little bit more. All right, so the main way that we use this is by creating lead magnets. So a lead magnet is a type of content that will incentivize a potential client or a customer to stop what they're doing in terms of stopping that scrolling, to actually get them to potentially leave the platform in exchange for content that you want to provide them. So now taking it back to our date, this is how you ask for that number. So think about it. You've been interacting with our content for a couple of days or maybe a couple of weeks. And then I provide a piece of content that says the top 3 types of content that you should be using to take you through your customer journey process, right? And I might make that into a list. I might make that into a small video, and I'm going to provide that to you in exchange for an email. That small exchange is such a small decision, especially if I've been providing you with valuable content over a longer period of time, right? And this is the perfect way for me to get to know you a little bit better by introducing to you into our newsletter, where we can build up more trust, more credibility, and providing a better chance to have a one-on-one conversation with you, my potential client. So now we're at the final phase, and that's creating content to have them make the decision. So to explain this a little bit further, let's now imagine that we're back on social media. So far, I've introduced you to different types of content in regards to the awareness phase to make you learn a little bit more about open media and everything that we can do. Then I started introducing some more content that's a little bit more deeper, and I may have provided a lead magnet in order to exchange that email. So now we're at a point where, based off of how you've interacted with us, we know that you might be ready and primed to make a decision to make a purchase. So when you're in that decision-making process, that might be very, very simple in terms of a post about a sale, a post about a coupon code, or a piece of content that lets you know that we have a special going on. So when it comes to making that decision-making content, you do not want to provide so much on your social media platforms, because remember, it might be someone's first time on your page. So you don't want them to see that ask right at the beginning or see it so often. So now we're in the decision phase about making content. So let's set the scene. We're back on social media. I've created content to help build awareness. So I'm getting to know you a little bit more. I'm actually making you laugh. I'm giving you different quotes. I'm inspiring you. I'm doing these different things that you might be used to on social media as a whole, right? I'm also sneaking in different types of content to let you know a little bit more about what open media does and about why you should potentially want to come to us for your service needs. Now we're going into the consideration process. So now I might provide a small incentive to get you to come off of the actual platform in exchange for some more content for your actual email, so I can build up more trust and more credibility. But now this is probably taking place over a couple of days or a couple of weeks, sometimes even months. It just depends on what the potential ask is. So now I need to introduce content to you either in the form of an email or content on social media that has a call to action. So the call to action is basically what you want that potential client or customer to actually do. So if you think about it, we've already made you do it when it comes to providing that email. But now I want you to come off of that money, that cash money. So now you want to be able to create different types of content that helps get that across. So that might be a post about a sale that's taking place, or that might be an email that provides with a specific coupon code, Or you might just have an ad that goes out there that says, this is what we have going on. So when it comes to making decision-making content, you got to kind of hold that as like your big joker, that last piece, that Hail Mary, right? That you know that you have content and you've built up this relationship over a longer period of time, and longer can be, again, depends on to you and about how big the ask is. Now you're going to provide that call to action to get them to hopefully make a decision and make a purchase. All right, so those were the 3 phases of the types of content that you should be making to help your customer or client make a decision to buy. But of course, we definitely got to recap before we go. So, just for the spirit of having fun, hey, Tony, give me some type of business that we can use as an example.
Cosmetic.
Got it. Cosmetics. Cool. So like lipstick, makeup, stuff like that. Cool. All right. So we're going to go through this so we can just show different types of content that you can do for a cosmetics line. All right. So first we're going to get into building awareness content for our new cosmetics brand called CU Cosmetics. All right. So when it comes to awareness type of content, you're going to create content that's going to be relevant and how you can tie your brand to what's happening in the everyday world, right? Or you might use influencer marketing where you're going to leverage someone else's pull in order to bring more attention to your brand. Or you can have different types of content that talks about the different features or benefits of using your brand, such as it may be all natural or that you're not testing it on any types of animals. So now we're going to get into that consideration content. So this is going to be the content, again, that's going to pull you away from your competition. So you could talk about how maybe your lipsticks last a little bit longer than their competitions, or you could talk about how they kind of have that weird sneaky stuff that's actually in their products that you don't have. Some other things that you want to do is be able to, again, to build credibility compared to your competition. So now you might introduce a little bit longer forms of content, such as testimonials that shows actual real life customers and how your brand and that CU Cosmetics actually changed their life. Or you can get into a little bit more scripted or more relatable content. And you might introduce a podcast or a vlog, just like this one. So now we're here for that decision-making content. So now we're going to provide content that's going to have that call to action so you can ask for your customer for that sale. So for CU Cosmetics, you might introduce a BOGO coupon, or you have different types of coupon codes that you introduce through your email marketing. Or you might say, hey, we have a flash sale that's going to last for the next 2 hours and you better go right now. Like right now. So that's what we have here for today about the different types of content that you should make to get your customer or client to get to the 3 different phases of making a decision and making that purchase. So if you loved it, because I know you did, make sure that you like, comment, subscribe, give us a rating, tell a friend to tell a friend, tell your uncle's aunt, auntie that, hey, you need to come watch these videos and come back to get all this type of goodness that we give you here week by week. So if you want to learn more about the Open Media Agency, about virtual events, micro content, or lead generation, you can definitely hit us up at our website at openmediaagency.com. So that's what we have here for you today. We'll catch you next time.